So how many taxes have you already paid today? Before noon.
Well, that really depends on what kind of tax we're talking about, right?
Right, exactly. And I'm not talking about like the sales tax on your morning coffee
Sure.
or, the income tax that gets automatically deducted from your paycheck.
Hmm.
I mean, an invisible, completely hidden toll,
Mm.
a tax that no government levies, it has no official forms, and yet it is a tax that you and I probably pay every single day,
Oh, absolutely.
often several times before we even finish our breakfast.
Yeah, without even realizing it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's called the phantom tax. And today we are doing a deep dive into a really fascinating piece of writing titled The Phantom Tax, The Hidden Toll of Preemptive Fear.
It's such a great text.
It really is. Our mission for this deep dive is to explore the psychological price we pay to other people's imagined reactions and, more importantly, how we can actually stop shrinking ourselves to pay it.
Which is something I think everyone struggles with on some level.
Oh, 100%. Okay, let's unpack this because identifying that this tax exists is one thing.
Yeah.
But the text really zeroes in on the bizarre mental mechanics of how we volunteer to pay it.
It does. And to really understand those mechanics, we have to look at the difference between an external demand and an internal projection.
Right.
Because when we talk about a tax in the traditional sense, there is an actual external force demanding something from you,
For
right?
the IRS.
Exactly, like the IRS. But the core mechanism of the phantom tax is anticipation.
Just purely in our heads.
Right. It operates entirely on your brain's predictive machinery. So you are paying a very real emotional and psychological price to an entirely fictional scenario.
A scenario that you've just completely constructed in your own head.
Exactly.
The text actually uses this deeply relatable example to illustrate that the withheld email.
Oh, yes. The email example is perfect.
I was reading this and I immediately thought of a situation I had just last week.
Oh, really? What happened?
So I was drafting a text to my landlord about a broken heater. And it was freezing in my apartment, right? So I had a completely reasonable, necessary request.
Right. You just wanted heat.
Exactly. But I sat there, just staring at the screen, writing and rewriting the message.
Let me guess. You were worried about your tone.
Yes, I didn't want to come across as, too demanding or difficult. So I backspaced.
Yep. There it is.
I softened the edge. I added a bunch of qualifiers like no rush, just checking in, and whenever you have a second.
Even though you were freezing.
Even though I was freezing, I literally shrank my ask until the message barely even communicated the actual problem.
Yeah.
And that physical feeling of backspacing it
Yeah.
right there is paying the phantom tax.
What's fascinating here is what is actually happening in your brain during that moment of backspacing.
Right, because it feels so automatic.
It is automatic. It's actually a fascinating evolutionary misfire.
Oh, an evolutionary misfire.
Yeah.
How so?
Well, your brain is basically running a hyper-conservative social simulation because, thousands of years ago, if you caused social friction within your tribe,
Things got pretty bad.
right, the consequence wasn't just an awkward silence, it was exile, which back then effectively meant starvation and death.
Wow. Okay, so the stakes were literally life or death.
Exactly. So our nervous systems evolved to be incredibly, almost painfully sensitive to potential disapproval.
So it's trying to protect us.
Yes, your brain is wired to predict the absolute worst-case social scenario just to keep you safe.
Okay, so wait. My brain is essentially treating a text message to my landlord about a thermostat. The exact same way it would treat me, like challenging the chieftain of a hunter-gatherer tribe.
In terms of the underlying alarm system, yes, absolutely.
That is wild.
It is. The brain's predictive coding runs a simulation where your landlord gets furious, retaliates, or just harshly judges you.
Right, like they're going to evict me over a heater.
Exactly. And the cruelty of this mechanism in the modern world is that you are withholding your actual needs to appease a disapproval that exists only in your projection.
It's not real.
No, it is a completely preemptive retreat. You tax yourself based on a statistical unlikelihood.
I really want you, the listener, to think about this for a second. Just think about a conversation you didn't have this week.
Or maybe a point you didn't raise in a meeting.
Right. Did you hold back because there was actual undeniable evidence that it would end in disaster?
Probably not.
Or did you run one of these ancient survival simulations in your head first and just decide to pay the tax to avoid a conflict that hadn't even materialized?
It is a really sobering thing to audit in your own life.
It really is.
Because, while softening an email to a landlord or staying quiet in one meeting might seem like a singular harmless event.
Just a momentary lapse in assertiveness.
Exactly. But the text points out that the real danger lies in what happens when these isolated moments link together over time.
Right, they build up.
They do. The phantom tax compounds.
Right, it's not just about the moment. The text argues that you actually lose the muscle of speaking up.
Yeah, it is a psychological domino effect, and it starts really small.
Like the unsent text message.
Right. One withheld email becomes a tolerated habit of dishonesty. Then, one swallowed boundary like, maybe you agree to take on a project at work you really don't have the bandwidth for.
Because you don't want to seem unhelpful, right?
Exactly. That becomes a pattern of self-erasure. And eventually, one silenced idea alters your actual self-concept.
Oh, wow. Your self-concept.
Yeah. You begin to view yourself as a person who just does not speak up. So the cost isn't just an unsent email.
What is it then?
The cost is your actual capacity to be honest in the world.
Okay, but wait. I have to push back on this a little bit.
Sure, go for it.
Because I can hear people listening to this and thinking, isn't this just basic social survival?
Right.
Isn't it just reading the room? Like, if I have a notoriously unpredictable boss and I decide not to pitch a radical new idea on a day when they clearly stressed out, I'm not self-erasing. I'm just using tact. I'm being realistic so I don't get my head bitten off.
Which makes total sense.
Right. So how do we distinguish between paying a phantom tax and just having basic, professional survival skills?
The author of the text actually anticipates this exact defense.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because we almost always frame our retreat as wisdom. But I want you to notice a specific word you just used in your example.
Which word?
You said notoriously unpredictable.
All right.
If your boss has a demonstrated observable history of reacting badly.
Or if they're visibly sweating and stressed in that moment.
Exactly. Delaying your pitch in that scenario is just navigating reality.
Okay, that makes sense.
But the text dismantles the excuse we use for the unobservable threats with this amazing quote. Caution that was never tested isn't caution. It's just fear with better PR.
Oh, man. Fear with better PR.
It hits hard, doesn't it?
It really does. That is such an uncomfortable mirror to hold up. Because public relations is fundamentally about spin.
Right.
It's taking something that might look weak or avoidant and spinning it to look responsible.
Or measured.
Right, or highly emotionally intelligent.
Precisely. We essentially hire this internal PR team to rebrand our insecurity as tact.
That's so true.
If you have actual evidence, then yes, you are practicing tested caution.
But if you don't?
Right. If you are just sitting at your desk, assuming your boss will hate the idea because you secretly feel insecure about the work, that isn't caution.
It's just fear.
That is fear. You are just giving your anxiety a great PR spin so you don't have to feel bad about retreating.
It's almost like social microdosing.
Oh, I like that term.
Right. Like you think taking a tiny sliver of your personality away each day is totally harmless.
Just a little bit at a time.
Yeah. You tell yourself, I'm just smoothing things over. But over a year of doing this, you've built up an absolute immunity to your own authenticity.
Wow.
You don't even know what your unvarnished opinion sounds like anymore.
That is a highly accurate way to look at it. And the real tragedy is that the social microdosing of self-erasure is usually a response to an authority figure who isn't even in the room.
Right, which leads to what I think is the most absurd part of this entire dynamic.
What's that?
Here's where it gets really interesting. If we are burning all this mental bandwidth, paying an imaginary toll disguised as PR, why do we keep staffing the booth?
That's the million-dollar question.
So text points out that most of the time the tax collector was never even there. We invent them.
Entirely.
We literally build the toll booths.
Yeah.
We staff it ourselves. We work the overnight shift. And then we hand over our own toll to ourselves.
We do. And we do it because it gives us a false sense of control.
Oh, control. Interesting.
Yeah, if we preemptively shrink ourselves, we feel like we are actively managing the outcome.
Right, like we're preventing the disaster.
Exactly. But this is where the text draws a critical distinction between real friction and phantom friction.
Okay, unpack that for me.
Well, real consequences are things you can actually navigate. If you send a direct email and the person is mildly offended, that is real friction.
And you can deal with that.
You can work with that. You
Eric.
can get on a quick phone call, you can clarify your tone, you can apologize if you actually crossed a line, and you just move forward.
Because it's tangible.
Yes, you can handle real life. But phantom friction, you can't navigate a ghost.
No, you really can't. And the text has a metaphor for this that just completely nails the absurdity of it.
Which one? The restaurant one?
Yes. It says that paying these phantom taxes is like being charged full price for a meal you never ate.
In a restaurant that doesn't exist.
Exactly. In a city you are never going to visit.
It's brilliant. If we connect this to the bigger picture, it really highlights the massive cognitive load we are carrying for absolutely no reason.
Right. It's so draining.
Think about the sheer amount of human energy that is wasted, bracing for doors that we're never going to slam. The bandwidth it takes to constantly maintain these phantom scenarios.
Yeah.
It's just exhausting.
It's like having, I don't know, 50 internet browser tabs open in your brain at all times.
Yes, exactly.
But every single tab is just an argument that hasn't even happened yet.
Yeah, and it just drains your battery to zero.
Exactly. So if we realize that we are the ones keeping all these tabs open, what happens when we try to just close them?
It's not always easy.
No. How do we actually stop paying this tax in our daily lives without, overcorrecting and becoming completely abrasive?
Well, the source text gives very specific instruction here.
Okay.
It advocates for something called a self-audit, but it emphasizes that this audit must be done curiously, not harshly.
Curiously, that distinction feels really important.
It's crucial.
Because if I catch myself shrinking an email and then immediately start berating myself, like, why are you so weak? Why can't you just stand up for yourself?
Yeah, that's not helpful.
Right. That feels like I'm just paying a totally different kind of tax.
It is. This raises an important question about how we talk to ourselves. A harsh audit is judgmental, and judgment just reinforces the underlying fear.
It keeps the alarm bells ringing.
Exactly. It keeps your nervous system in a constant state of threat. A curious audit, on the other hand, is observational.
Like stepping back.
Right. It asks you to step back and look at the mechanics of the situation almost like a scientist.
Okay, I like that.
It asks you to pause and say, wait a second, who actually asked me to shrink right there? Did the environment demand it, or did my anticipation invent it?
The text actually provides 3 specific accounting questions for this audit. And I want to pose these directly to you, the listener, right now.
Oh, this is good.
To let these echo in your head and see what comes to mind from your own week.
Mm-hmm.
Where are you pre-apologizing right now? What truth are you pre-softening? And what ask are you pre-shrinking?
Notice how every single one of those terms, pre-apologizing, pre-softening, pre-shrinking, is rooted entirely in anticipation. Right. And it's important to clarify that the goal of asking these questions isn't to suddenly adopt a policy of total, unfiltered recklessness.
Oh, for sure.
The author makes it very clear that dismantling the toll booth isn't about, blurting out every raw thought that pops into your head and calling it authenticity.
We all know people who use authenticity as a weapon.
Yes, and it's highly destructive.
Right, the goal isn't to become a bulldozer.
Exactly. The goal is simply to pause in that moment of hesitation.
And your fingers just hovering over the backspace key.
Yes, or when you're about to swallow a totally valid question in a meeting, you just pause and ask one grounding question.
Yeah.
Is this tax real?
Has someone actually levied it, or did I just volunteer for it?
Precisely.
So what does this all mean? When you actually pause and ask that question, the text delivers what I see as the ultimate punchline to this whole psychological joke.
And it's a great punchline.
Right. If you ask yourself, what would it actually cost me to stop paying this tax right now?
Mm-hmm.
Most of the time, the answer is nothing. Most of the time, the only person who even knew you were engaged in this massive internal negotiation was you.
Yeah.
The other person is literally just waiting for an email.
That is the liberating reality at the bottom of all this. The relief of realizing you are the only one demanding this toll.
Which
means you are the only one who needs to give yourself permission to stop paying it.
Wow. So we've mapped out the architecture of this phantom tax.
We have.
We've looked at the evolutionary misfire that causes it, how it masquerades as PR intact, how it compounds into self-erasure.
And how to use a curious audit to close those exhausting mental browser tabs.
Exactly. So where does this leave us in practice? What's the takeaway here?
The direct call to action from this material is to actively choose reality over anticipation.
Choose reality.
Let the reaction come if it comes, send the unvarnished email, set the actual boundary, speak the actual idea.
Just do it.
Yes. Let the disapproval land if it actually lands. Because real friction is infinitely better than the hollow toll of the phantom tax.
Because it's real.
Right. Real friction is just life. It can be navigated. But the phantom tax will quietly bankrupt your sense of self without you even noticing.
Before we wrap up, I want to leave you, the listener, with a final thought to mull over.
I love this part.
It's something that builds on this idea of our brain's predictive machinery.
Okay.
If our brains are truly powerful enough to invent entirely fictional toll booths, angry tax collectors, and disastrous social scenarios that successfully alter our real-world behavior.
Which we know they are.
Right. What would happen if we started using that exact same mental machinery in the opposite direction?
Oh, wow.
What if, before you sent that email or walked into that meeting, you actively pre-simulated wild success?
I love that.
Right. What if you imagined instant acceptance, total validation, and unbridled enthusiasm from the people around you?
That changes the whole dynamic.
It really does. If we can tax ourselves into shrinking, could we start paying ourselves a phantom dividend that actually emboldens us to take up more space?
That is an incredibly powerful reframing.
It's something to think about the next time your finger hovers over that backspace key. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive, and remember to keep questioning those invisible taxes you pay.